Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Games Parlay, the show where Matt and I get together and talk about
Billy.
What?
Wrong show.
Oh, you're right. This is up, download. How's it going, everybody? I see we got a couple people in chat. Welcome. It is the Games Parlay takeover, though, for the weekly news show. So, Matt, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Billy. How are you?
I'm doing all right. We got lots to talk about this week, and kind of update on. But it's actually been a while since you and I have been in a call together.
It's true. Yeah.
So we got Sterling in chat. Hello. We've got Elena in chat. Hello. We got some double Matt going on. That's not good. Oh, I see. No. We're back to one Matt. Yes,
one's enough.
If there are audio things, let me know. I've got some lo-fi music playing in the background. Hopefully, you guys can hear that while we talk today. It's just gonna be a chilled out Sunday while we talk about all kinds of stuff. So, but yeah, it's been a while since even we've gotten together. So this is really exciting and really fun. That's so Games Parlay of up download. Well, first, we want to start off with probably the saddest bit of news that we have, but it's something we wanted to make sure that we spent a good chunk of time on, and that is the unfortunate passing of Akira Toriyama. For those that aren't as into it as the rest of us, Akira Toriyama, of course, the artist for Dragon Ball, Dragon Quest, Chrono Trigger, manga enthusiast, just a literal legend that unfortunately passed away at the age of 68 on March 1st. And it's just really sad.
It's very sad.
It's like, yeah, it's just sad. 68 is not, it's not old, but it's not young either.
Absolutely.
He's had, got to see a lot in his time and do a lot in his time. And literally changed the landscape for many of us, even though I haven't watched a lot of Dragon Ball. There's so many things that come from Dragon Ball.
I was gonna say the same thing. I watched a little bit of like DBZ when I was a kid, and it was just like on TV sometimes. But being on Twitter this past week, it's been kind of crazy to see how influential he was, and like how many shows would directly reference his work like as a bit. And like it was surprising how like culturally impactful he was as an artist. I hadn't quite realized it.
Yeah, it is crazy because I didn't see Dragon Ball as like that origin point for a lot of stuff. Like I do Dragon Quest nowadays, but even then I didn't realize it till I started playing the games. But I mean, there's so much that comes from Dragon Ball that people reference, from poses to, the over 9,000 bit.
Yep.
To even just something like a cool charge up attack. I mean, there's tons of stuff in there that have come from Dragon Ball directly. So, I thought I would share something pretty cool though in honor. Hold on, let me turn off my video background. Just don't look at the pile of crap in my background.
It's not there.
It's not there. All right, focus on the cool thing. So for Christmas a couple years ago, my parents bought me this book, which is part of the 30th anniversary of Dragon Quest. So this was right before Dragon Quest 11 had come out. And just, it's really cool. It's full of just all kinds of artwork that he did. But I love it here. His patented little robot dude in the Dragon Quest 3 outfit. So we got this cool message from Akira Toriyama talking about the games. I'll read a small snippet of it. 30 years back, I was already familiar with Hori-san as he was a writer for Shonen Jump. One day, my editor at the time, Torishima-san, passed along a message from the man. Hori-san was apparently making a game for the Famicom, and he told me you should do the character designs. Skipping ahead, despite my initial puzzlement though, I came to realize that basically anything goes in fantasy, so I had a lot of freedom in designing these characters. The game was a smash hit, and once I got a chance to play it myself, I finally understood what all the fuss was about. It was incredibly fun, and I took a lot of pride in my involvement in the project. Skipping ahead a little bit more, a lot of the old drawings and designs seem crude in retrospect, but I had also made some bold choices when I was younger. Hopefully that adds to the fun factor. Maybe it was worth losing all that sleep after all. So just really kind of neat and cool, and of course we got another picture of Toriyama's little guy next to a slime. And then in the back of this book, if you're ever interested, obviously as a big Dragon Quest fan, I am interested. So this book has all of his like old character designs of a bunch of the old monsters, as well as like the heroes and stuff. This is the party from Dragon Quest VI. A cool thing, though, I was showing Matt going live.
It's all really cool.
It's just so funny that the start of Dragon Ball was so close to the start of Dragon Quest. And you can see some very obvious similarities. There it is. So these are some of the concept designs from Dragon Quest III, which is the one that lets you use the party system. So, like, there's just Gohan and Goku, just right there, right? And I was watching the original Dragon Ball the other day, and, like, by, like, episode 20 or something, they're in, like, this desert area. That's straight up the outfit they put Bulma in. Like, 100%. That is just almost
That's
Bulma.
so funny.
Like, make her hair blue and put it down, and that's just Bulma.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, what is it? Oh, we got more over here. There's the bunny outfit they put Bulma in. Like, it's the same. I mean, it's a classic design, but it's the same bunny girl. And then the karate gis that they're wearing, like, that's just Goku's gi if you make it orange.
Yep.
And so it's just really cool. It's really neat that, to think that he did so much for not only anime, but, like, video games. Like,
absolutely.
Dragon Quest is the origin of a lot of JRPGs. So much came from it. And so it's truly a loss to lose Akira Toriyama. So, and again, I watched Dragon Ball, the original Dragon Ball, a little bit the other day, and it was really fun to watch. It was a little bit horny for my liking. But, it was the 80s.
I was going to say it was anime in the 80s. It's kind of...
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was cool to watch. It was cool to kind of go back through. Even a lot of the armor designs and stuff in the early Dragon Ball were so, like, I could just be like, oh, he borrowed this for Chrono Trigger, or
right.
Oh, I recognize that thing from Dragon Quest, whatever. So really, really cool stuff.
It does make you wonder, like, where he got the idea for them first.
Right.
Like if it was for a game or for a show, and then how he would move things around to kind of make them fit into different worlds.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's really neat. So if you haven't gotten a chance yet to watch some old Dragon Ball, again, just remember, when it started. Or obviously play some Dragon Quest. Also to mention, he drew the art for Chrono Trigger.
Yep.
Like one of the...
I started playing that just the other day for the first time.
Yes.
It's been really good so far.
Yes, it's so good. Like literally one of the best JRPGs you could ever play. Chrono Trigger. So like he was so involved. Not to mention we're still having Dragon Quest III HD 2D, hopefully.
Hopefully.
And then Dragon Quest 12, I imagine they got a lot of that done, as far as character design and stuff. We have Sandland coming out later this year, which was another like Akira Toriyama original.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And so this year and next year we'll probably see some of the last bits of work that he worked on. Same with Koichi Sugiyama, who passed away a few years ago. We'll probably see the last of his compositions for Dragon Quest in these next couple games. So it's very sad. It's very upsetting, but a lot of the tributes have been lovely to see, just to see how much of an impact Akira Toriyama had on so many people is really, really heartwarming.
Yeah, it's like the end of an era.
Truly, like truly. So, But yeah, that's that. As of now, I think the family said they don't have many plans for like a public thing, but I feel like the internet has kind of taken it themselves these last
I would say
couple
so.
weeks. So very sad, but a legacy a very positive legacy he left behind.
Absolutely.
Moving on from the sadness of Toriyama, let's talk about Mario. It's Mario Day, people. It is
Happy
March
Mario
10th.
Day!
Mario Day. We haven't had a brand new Mario game. Well, I guess we had Wonder. We haven't had a 3D Mario game since the launch of the Switch.
Yep.
Unless you
Fall
count,
2017.
unless you count Bowser's Fury, which I kind of do.
Kind of,
It's
sort
like
of.
half, right? But
So let's talk about
yeah, go ahead.
Let's talk about what was announced today.
True.
Because in honor of Mario Day, Nintendo put out a little video talking about some announcements. I've got a tweet from Wario64 pulled up. Biggest one I would say is probably Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door finally got its release date of May 23rd, which is very soon.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's not very far away.
Mm-mm. And then Luigi's Mansion 2 HD is out June 27th, so about a month later. We're getting some Mario games added to Switch Online for the Game Boy and Game Boy Color. Those are Dr. Mario, Mario Golf, and Mario Tennis. And then the official announcement of a sequel to the Super Mario Bros. Movie coming in April of 2026.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and break those down one by one. Paper Mario, obviously huge.
Pumped.
We get into this weird trends with remakes and re-releases where like we get overly annoyed that that's all we're getting. But I feel like Nintendo has done a pretty good job in recent years of porting, remastering, remaking things that are like extremely expensive and hard to come by. Like a lot of these, namely GameCube, right? We're looking at GameCube era games that are, as a collector, let me tell you, it's not fun.
No, it's not.
You know, I see copies of Metroid Prime, even Prime 1, going for upwards of $50, $60, $70.
Yep.
God forbid you want to buy Metroid Prime 2.
Can't imagine. I haven't looked.
Yeah. Or, you know, like the original Animal Crossing even is upwards of $70, $80.
It's crazy.
If not more. So, I've really been pleased that we've been getting GameCube remakes and remasters to the Switch.
I think, too, they've done a really good job at choosing which games get remakes and remasters, like, that have art styles that look really, really nice still, that you just have to, like, make the resolution nicer, and it looks just like how, you know, you remembered it looking when you were 10, you know?
Yep.
Like, I think of the Wind Waker HD port for the Wii U, and, like, that still looks incredible. Even the original Wind Waker still looks really, really nice.
Yeah.
And, like, you don't have to do a ton of work to really polish these games up and make them look really pretty.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Because, like, the base gameplay is still really good as well. So, like, they're...
Yeah, Nintendo knows what they're doing. You know, everyone always likes to give Nintendo crap for not pushing these, you know, these heavy AAA, or now quadruple A titles, thanks Ubisoft. Like, you know, it's not God of War, right? But it doesn't have to be.
Only at work.
Because it's, the art style just sits right, it looks good, it's cheerful. And a lot of those GameCube games are just in such a great nostalgia pocket for them, to really, you know, get us to buy it. I am stoked for Paper Mario: Thousand Year Door to come back. I played it via emulation a few years back with like an HD texture pack.
All right, yeah.
So I'm really excited that this is like an official re-release that looks as good as it does. And I don't have to pay $1 bajillion to get this game physically.
Right. So do we know is this like a complete from the bottom remake, or is it just a remaster? I don't quite understand.
I don't think we
what
know.
Their designation is.
Okay. Nintendo has been weirdly secretive. I saw something else too. Like they just aren't saying who's making their games.
Yeah, the past couple.
Normally that tells us like what kind of, just by the developer we have an idea of like what kind of game it is or how it's being produced. Like for example, Super Mario RPG was developed by Art Piazza, who is an incredible studio who did the Dragon Quest 4, 5, 6 DS remakes. And so they are, you know, that we know that studio is willing to remake things and redo them and like polish up textures and stuff. But we have no idea. We just found out who's making Princess Peach Showtime because of the demo.
I was gonna say the same thing. Yep, someone like data mined the demo to find out that. Dang it, which studio was it again? It wasn't Next Level Games. We assumed it would have been, but it wasn't.
I don't remember. I just saw it this morning. But anyway, so we have no idea. Starling posting, there were some screenshots posted of Paper Mario and the lighting looked like a remake, but like super faithful. Yeah. But here's the other thing that's weird about that in Nintendo. They called the Metroid Prime remake a remaster, and I would call that a remake.
Right.
Because they redid all of the graphics, they overhauled all of the graphics, they added a second analog stick, which did not exist in the original game. They added gyro control. Like, I would have called that a remake. So I don't know. I would imagine I would probably call this a remake, just based on how they've been going in the past. It's not like it would take much for them to do. Right, kind of like what we talked about before. Like, they have the original textures, upscale them. Everything's paper, right? Like, it's a JRPG. I don't think it would take that much for the juggernauts at Nintendo to remake.
I would agree.
Make it a little bit slicker on the Switch. So.
Yep. We've also got the Luigi's Mansion 2 HD coming out June 27th.
Yeah.
I never played the second one. I've only ever played Luigi's Mansion 3, so I don't have a lot of history with the series.
I played quite a bit of Luigi's Mansion 2, you know, and I didn't finish Luigi's Mansion 3. I need to get back and do that, because it's a gorgeous
game. We didn't either, no.
It's a gorgeous game. But I liked Luigi's Mansion 2 for the most part. It was not what I wanted at the time, because I really loved Luigi's Mansion 1, where it was one mansion, and you were, like, slowly but surely opening up the areas of the mansion, fighting new bosses within the mansion. And like I liked that contained level design. Whereas Luigi's Mansion 2 was like a bunch of mansions, and and it was like episodic. So like you would go into Mansion 1, and you would only be allowed to do. It was the same level structure, but I didn't like that they like shoehorned me down a path. Like you had to follow the level design, then you would be kicked out, and then you would get to come back in, and then you would have a new set of level design to go traverse through, rather than
that sounds more like that sounds a lot like how you would do like a 2D Mario game, kind of like kick you out into the overworld map thing and then put you back in the next level.
Yeah, it was basically that. And what like Luigi's Mansion 1 thematically did the same thing. It was you had a path to go, but you were still in the same mansion. You could go back through older sections to find secrets or whatever. But I still liked that I got to walk around the whole mansion as I unlocked stuff and got to see how things changed. So I would be excited to revisit Luigi's Mansion 2. In fact, I still think I have my 3DS cartridge. I could probably go play it right now. But I don't know. I don't think I was... I'd have to see again and see if it was just something that I just didn't like at the time because it was different and not what I wanted. Or if there's some stuff with it. But who knows? I'm excited that they're taking another shot at it. I'm glad Luigi's Mansion has the success to warrant doing that.
I agree.
Which gives me hope that they're working on a fourth game. I can't imagine they won't, considering how successful 3 was.
Yeah.
And Retro Studios is a phenomenal dev studio. So, we'll see. But I'm excited for that one. We'll see how that goes. I liked the multiplayer aspect. I think that's one of the things that I'm excited for about with 2. What they had, I think they called it the Scare Scraper or something dumb. And it was basically like a 4-player co-op, like Ghostbusters style, like clear out all the ghosts within a certain time frame.
I did a similar thing for 3, if I recall.
Yeah. So I would be fine with more multiplayer Luigi's Mansion shenanigans.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel on that. Nintendo
Agreed.
Switch Online. These are certainly some choices.
They are, in fact. Dr. Mario makes sense. Like, that's a very popular puzzle game.
Right. The thing, I don't know. Here's the thing: we already have it on the NES, NSO.
Yeah.
And the Game Boy, I guarantee you, the Game Boy version of this is just that, but on handheld. So it's gonna look about the same and play about the same. But I don't know that.
You're right.
So we'll see. And then Mario Golf and Mario Tennis on the Game Boy Color. I think that is kind of fascinating. I think it's interesting that Mario Golf looks like the N64 cover. It's like the same box art.
I've heard specifically that this one is supposed to be one of the better Mario Golf games.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
See, and that comes out on the 12th.
Granted, I don't know if it's like because of nostalgia or whatever, but yeah. I've heard it's good.
Look, I would love. We should get some of the other guys on Up Download, and we should get our Switches and play like a bunch of these old Mario games multiplayer.
That could be cool.
It could be really fun, especially like some of these new ones coming out. But I do like that we are still getting drip fed.
Very much drip fed, yes.
Switch Online is such a cool service, and we do get a lot of banger games. I just wish it was a little bit more frequently than we get them, but I do like that they are still. Every time I lose a little bit of faith that we're getting more, they do give us a little bit, so I can at least be happy that we are getting more.
Yep. Where is Mario Land?
That's a great question.
Where is it? I loved that game.
I never played it.
It's so weird. It was good.
I'm sure.
I had it. I found it at a garage sale when I was a kid, and it was awesome. I played quite a bit of it. I didn't understand like how weird it was until much later, but
yeah,
it's an odd Mario game.
Yeah, I hope they dig into those retro catalogs. There's like deep cuts, even more. We have quite a few deep cuts on the NES. Like I think that's one of the things that gets me. We have stuff like I think we just got Mysterious Masamune Castle, which is like the only reason I know anything about this game is because of John Cartwright. But apparently it's like
sounds about right.
Apparently it's like the Zelda predecessor, and I think it was Japan only too.
I remember seeing this, yes.
And I'm pretty sure we have it on NES, NSO. So we've got deep cuts on there. So to wait for Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance to start to pass out some of those deep cuts is a little infuriating. But at least we did get Pokemon TCG.
Yeah.
So I mean, we're getting stuff. It's just it's taking.
We're getting
a while.
stuff.
And every now and then we
more
get these...
Game Boy Advance.
Yes, as would I. But we keep getting these little like piddly. Here you go. Here's 3 games. Have fun playing Game Boy Color Mario Golf. Forget about the Mario Golf game we published like 2 years ago that nobody liked.
Oh my gosh.
Play this
one. And then last but not least, we've got an official announcement of the new Mario Bros. Movie coming out April 3rd, 2026.
How crazy is it that we can expect a new Mario movie? Like, we all saw this coming. Like, we knew it was going to happen.
Absolutely.
How crazy is it?
I think we made over $1 billion.
Right. And we know a Zelda movie is in the works. We have Sonic the Hedgehog 3 coming later this year. There's a Knuckles TV show on the way on Paramount. Like, just how crazy is it that we can be excited about a video game movie coming out?
You saw the first Mario movie, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
What'd you think?
I loved it. I thought it was really fun. I think I posted after that I owed Chris Pratt an apology because he actually did a really nice job.
He did better than I expected.
Yeah,
I agree.
I would have liked some more to be done with the movie. It was very safe.
Yes,
and that's not a problem necessarily. I just would have liked. I get why they did it, but I would have liked a little bit more risk with the film. But I agree.
I liked it. I didn't love it. I thought it was fun.
Yeah. Elena says, Mario 2, Yoshi's Crafted World of Nightmares.
Yeah, we had some issues with that game over here.
Very funny.
I think there was one level specifically that you like hop on. I think they were like paper airplanes. Mm-hmm. She didn't like that one very much.
Very funny. No, I mean, I liked the film. I would have liked more with the Kongs. Like, I thought that was really, really cool. Again, I just think it was played really safe with like, oh, we need to go to the Kongs to help us beat Bowser, and then we're not really going to do a whole lot with them.
You're right.
They just kind of were the facilitator for the Mario Kart reference, which I thought was strange.
Yeah, that was kind of weird. Although I did like the Mario Kart reference.
I mean, I did too, right? It just felt like there wasn't substance for the reasons things were there. It was just things were there, which is fine. I want to reiterate, I am okay with what they did. I just would have liked a little bit more as an adult. But I will say one of my favorite things was all the Easter eggs scattered around for me to look at. I'm pretty sure, if I remember right, there was an R-Wing from Star Fox on Mario's TV, like on top of Mario's TV.
That sounds correct.
Which, the fact that they would even think about referencing Star Fox is cool to me.
It is. I think there was like a Punch-Out reference in the restaurant too. Yeah, so there's lots of little things of old school Nintendo games.
Yeah, and so I'm excited for more of that. I want Mario and Zelda to do really well because I think they have so many IPs that would lend themselves so well to movies. Like, they have... Nintendo has so much money in their back pocket with this, if they do it right. Because we love our nostalgia. So, like, so long as they continue to put out really good movies, and really fun movies, I would love to see them be able to start taking some risks with their IPs. And I think Zelda will be the test.
I was gonna say, what series do you think they would do next after Zelda?
Do I think they would do next?
Yeah, like what would you want them to? What would you like to see?
Those are two different answers.
Okay, right. Then let's start with what do you think they're going to do?
I don't know. I'm looking. I think they would branch off to the Kongs. I think they would give like Donkey Kong Country its own.
My thought was the same. Yeah. They also have a lot of Kong stuff in the theme parks, so I think that makes a lot of sense too, to kind of have that IP all work together.
Yeah. I could totally see them. So I could see Mario 2 not referencing the Kongs at all. It sounds like Yoshi, just from that end credit scene of the first movie, Yoshi will probably be the focus. So I'd love to see like a return to the Yoshi's Island worlds, and let that be the focus of Mario 2.
That could be fun, or like a Super Mario World thing.
Yeah, something like that. And then let and then spin off to the Kongs. Get our Donkey Kong Country movie where we introduce King K. Rool, and all of those guys, and then get Zelda. Let Zelda do whatever Zelda's gonna do. Far less predictability there, in my opinion. And then they could really go anywhere from that. Pokemon already has its thing, so it's really not going to be under Nintendo's umbrella.
No, not
per se. There. I would love to see something like Kid Icarus, or Metroid, or heck, even F-Zero.
I think F-Zero would be really cool. I think Star Fox could be fun.
Star Fox is also up there for me. Like, really, I say easy in terms of people who are good at this. Not that I think it would be easy to do, but I think like a Star Fox, like recreate the story of Star Fox 64, where they have to go from planet to planet helping people out. And then you could have a really cool action sequence at the end fighting Andross.
Absolutely. And like they have a cast of fun characters in that game too. Like they're cute little animal guys. Like that. Yeah. That's an easy sell.
Yeah. One of the things that's interesting about Nintendo is that a lot of their properties, with the exception of Mario, are actually incredibly dark properties.
Sure.
Like the stories themselves are not lending themselves to kid-friendly, overall. But we do have Kirby, And I think you could do something with like the Star Warriors, even just Kirby versus Meta Knight, or
Pretty cool.
Kirby King DDD. There's a lot you could do with Kirby to make that work. But you start to look at some of the other properties, and you're like, how would family-friendly Nintendo market? Like, how would you market Star Fox? It's straight up a war. It's a war zone.
That's true.
In space. Granted, it's goofy. You could Star Wars it,
Mm-hmm.
But like, Andross is a terrifying boss. If you get his true form stuff and his face starts to fall apart and he's a robot underneath, like it's a mess.
Right.
Think about Metroid. It's basically Alien.
Metroid's scary.
Yeah.
Like, that's a scary game.
Yeah.
When you really think about it.
So Nintendo's in an interesting spot where it's like not all of their properties I think would make great kids movies. And so I would wonder if they would want to take that approach to like more PG-13, if they're willing to slap a 13 on their logos.
I don't know.
I don't know. So I don't know. Regardless, I think Mario 2 is going to be fun. I'm excited to see what they're going to do. I hope to see some risks. Now that they've proved the concept well enough. Maybe spin off to Luigi's Mansion after.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
So they have so many opportunities for some really fantastic movies. And if they wanted to, I think, TV has just gotten better. Right? You think about all their crappy 90s cartoons.
Yeah.
I think you're at a good spot now where you could reasonably get away with trying a Donkey Kong TV show again, or a Legend of Zelda TV show.
I'd watch that.
I would
for
too.
Sure.
I would too. So, Nintendo's in a really interesting spot right now, as far as their movie potential and games.
Agreed.
Just their games are in a really great spot too. So, anything else on that, or shall we move on?
I think we should move to the next thing.
Okay, we're still talking about Nintendo.
It's true.
But the unfortunate closure of Yuzu and Citra. Man, where to start?
Well, let's start with what are those, for those that might not know.
Good call. So Yuzu and Citra are emulators. They are under the same production team umbrella.
Right. I wouldn't say company, but same personnel.
Right. And so Yuzu was the Nintendo Switch emulator, and Citra was the 3DS emulator for PC. And for those that aren't deep in the weeds like the rest of us, emulators basically allow you to play your games from those consoles on another device. So with Yuzu, you could dump the Switch cartridge that you own onto your computer and play Switch games on your PC.
Right.
And the same is true with Citra and any other emulator that you would play. Most of you that watch YouTube content, most of your Pokemon YouTubers are using emulators for things like speed up, hacking, and rare candies. Blah, 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 blah. And so Yuzu, as of this week, was handed a cease and desist from Nintendo, which basically means that you stop what you're doing and remove everything. It's basically like, you need to do this or we are putting in like an actual lawsuit. And essentially Yuzu settled. They chose not to fight back. They owe Nintendo $2.4 million. They have been forced to hand over all of their tech kits. So anything that was being used to mod Nintendo Switches, anything like that, 3DSs have been handed over to Nintendo. And they have to shut down any trace of their product. So the actual GitHub, anything else that it was being mirrored to that they had control over, has been shut down. They are not allowed to work on it anymore. And we've seen Nintendo do this in the past. This is nothing new.
Not at all.
Not at all. If you're not aware, Nintendo and piracy are like oil and water.
Absolutely.
And I use the term piracy. Really, they feel that way about emulators as a whole.
Right.
But it's specifically the piracy bit that they have the legal foothold in to shut these things down. And so, let's kind of talk about like what happened, like why we have so many emulators. And we've seen Nintendo going after emulators quite a bit in recent, since ever. But like specifically in recent years, we've seen a lot more kind of aggression from Nintendo about these emulators. So, what happened? What caused Yuzu to get the cease and desist?
Right. My understanding is it had to do with the Patreon that they had and how what they were doing was, according to Nintendo, facilitating piracy. So what Yuzu would do was they would like update the application and then make the update available to people who paid them on Patreon earlier than other people. And then those people would then be able to play various Switch games, oftentimes before the release date of the game. I know that happened for sure for Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah.
I think it was like a week and a half early or something like that. Like it was crazy early that people were able to emulate Tears before it hit the Switch, which is a problem, I would say.
Yeah. And it's important to note, as we're talking about this, there's been I see a lot of stuff online, just people that don't understand the legal surroundings of these things, and I don't blame anybody for not knowing. Like, it's
complicated.
It's complicated, and you really have to be in it to kind of understand what the rules are. And also, I want to put a big disclaimer here. I've had quite a few conversations with people that don't understand this difference. There is a difference between what you believe should be the case and what the rules are. And that is super important to like think about when we have these conversations. Because Matt and I both talked before. We're both pro emulation.
Absolutely.
I have a 3DS not too far away from here that is hacked and jailbroken and done all kinds of stuff with. Yeah, there's Matt's right there. So,
yay!
Let it be known, we are both pro emulation and pro video game preservation and all of that as we talk about this. Now, the rules surrounding emulation are a huge gray zone. Emulators themselves, the idea of having an emulator is 100% completely legal. You are allowed to have an emulator on your computer, even for Switch games, that you can dump your own ROMs to play. That's
the important part, is the your own ROMs part. That's the kicker.
Yeah.
Because you have to have a physical version of the thing, or I think it also could be a digital version that you have bought.
Yeah.
But you have to have bought it, and you have to be able to prove that you own that thing before you can put it on your computer. So if you were to, for example, upload a ROM to the internet for other people to then download, that is where it becomes piracy, and that is technically illegal.
Yes. And so that's the big thing that Nintendo has been cracking down on. And that's the thing that got Yuzu in trouble. You add in the Patreon, plus the ability to play games before they come out, plus the ability, I think the Discord itself was supplying ROMs. I think that's what the Nintendo ninjas found. When they
that sounds familiar to me too. Yeah.
I wasn't in the Discord. I have no confirmation of that, but I'm pretty sure that's what I read. So you throw all of those things together, and it was a slam dunk case. Yuzu was never going to win that case, which is why they settled.
No, because they were dumb.
Oh yeah, which is why they settled, right? I've seen a lot of people that are like, emulators are legal. They should have fought back. They were never going to win. They were never going to win.
They were very arguably doing illegal things with the emulator.
Yes.
So
yes, Yuzu, legally speaking, unfortunately deserved its shutdown. Which sucks, because I think Switch emulation is a very cool thing, and obviously people have already picked up the GitHub, like people already had it on their computers. It's not like you can't go get Yuzu as it stood right now and be able to play it on your computer.
Yep,
there's
pretty easy.
There's already Nuzu and Suzu. Like, people are already picking up the work where Yuzu left off. Because emulation as a whole is technically illegal. And so people are picking up the slack to continue that work. So the
Right.
efforts of Yuzu are not gone. But
Absolutely. And I think the fact that other emulators got kind of caught in the crossfire is really unfortunate. Like Citra, the 3DS emulator, is gone now too. And they, first of all, the 3DS is not a console that Nintendo sells anymore.
Right.
So like,
and they're actively
this doesn't
down.
directly, right? And this doesn't directly impact their profit margins at all. It's just the guys that were working on Citra also worked on Yuzu, and so they had to all turn in everything.
Yep. Losing Citra is the big bummer. Because again,
I think so.
Because again, like you said, there's no way to access those games at all.
Right.
And I do think it's important to also recognize that for all intents and purposes, Nintendo doesn't owe us those games. However, for the sake of preservation, it's important that those games are kept.
Right.
Nintendo,
there are a lot of games that you cannot get physical versions of anymore that were eShop only.
Yeah.
That if they are not preserved in some way, they'll just be gone.
Yeah.
Which is super sad.
Oh, what was it? Was it like 85% of games released prior to 2006 or something are just completely unavailable?
Yeah, just something like that. I know the stat you're talking about, but I don't know the exact
It's something
number.
like that. So like there are so many games that as we talk right now are completely unaccessible and are just gone because the preservation wasn't there. Which is why emulation is so important, just to keep those games from disappearing.
Right.
And it sucks because yes, Nintendo doesn't owe us. They don't have to make those games available for us. But we also know that they're probably not keeping a whole lot of them, especially their little indie games that got published through 3DS only, that would just be lost if not maintained. So losing Citra sucks. And also, like, here's another thing that I don't know that people have thought about. 3DS had a lot of DLC. Wii U had a lot of DLC. How are you going to get those DLC as soon as the eShop is gone forever?
Right, because even if you are able to buy a physical copy of the game that you want, there's a lot of things in that game that you won't be able to get. But yeah, it's extremely sad. Like
this game right here, Xenoblade Chronicles X, Wii U game. Here's the thing: this game runs like crap. It runs horribly. It's terrible to play vanilla. So here's something really, really sad. I bought this game. The Wii U eShops are closed. You know what I didn't buy? The free DLC patch that makes this game run better.
That's crazy.
Yep.
I did not know that was a thing.
Yeah, it puts some of the I can't remember what it puts on the console, but it puts stuff on the console to make this game load better and run better. So that it's partially running from the disc, but also partially running from the console, so that the game can function. I did not download that DLC when I bought this game because I forgot, and now I'm stuck with a game nobody wants to play anymore. That's not true. People love this game. It's like an MMO style Xenoblade game. Like it's a full online experience. I think you can play it solo as well, and it's fine. But like, this game is dead in the water.
Right.
And if not for emulation and jailbreaking, like I haven't jailbroke my Wii U yet. I'm a little nervous to do that one.
I like how you said yet.
Yet is the key thing. I will eventually get over it, just like I did my 3DS.
Yep.
But until I do, like that DLC is just gone. Like I can't get it legally. There's no way for me to pick up the Xenoblade Chronicles X DLC that makes this game run better and playable.
Right.
And so that's part of the conversation of like preservation matters because, I mean, this game will never get another re-release.
No.
This game is stuck on the Wii U. You know how many people own a Wii U? Less than the amount of people
Like
who own
10.
Sega Dreamcasts.
I did not realize that. That's crazy.
Yeah, I looked it up not too long ago. There are less Wii U owners than Sega Dreamcast owners.
Awesome. I think a lot of it too is it kind of puts into perspective the whole like fight between video games as art and video games as like commodities, you know? Because like there are things that you buy and sell and trade, but they're also like pieces of art that people pour years and years and years into.
Yeah.
And it's like when you have these large corporations that are in charge of distributing these pieces of art, then they're going to put money before the actual, health of the art form itself, which is very, very sad.
Sorry, I'm getting out all my fun little things.
I was gonna say, where did the Billy go? There he is.
So another thing that I just like to kind of bring up with this, right? Oops. This little game right here, Mother 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
This game, for most of the world, is totally unplayable.
As in,
like,
you cannot get it.
No, not in a form that you can actually play. Like, unless you speak Japanese. This game is unavailable.
I see what you mean.
Also, you can only buy a copy secondhand anyway, but like, that aside.
Mm-hmm.
This game means so much to me and so many people, and it is a barrier that I can't get people to play it. Because you have to patch the game, right? And even then, without emulation, this game would not be playable. So, it sucks that Yuzu and Citra have gone down. Citra in particular, because those games are just unavailable.
Yeah, Rhythm Heaven's kind of the same. The original Rhythm Heaven game was a Japanese exclusive on the GBA.
Yeah.
And you have to download an English patch to play it. So, it's crazy that one of the most important libraries of the ability to play a very, very good system is now gone.
Yeah.
Again.
Yep. And it just sucks. I mean, there's gonna be people.
It sucks.
There's always gonna be people that make emulators for those things, but Citra was so well thought out and executed. Again, people will pick up the slack and do what they were doing, probably better after a few years, but
it's still starting over. It's still not ideal.
Right. So again, it sucks. But it is important to realize that yes, it sucks, but it's also that Yuzu did mess up. I think that's important to recognize. Yuzu messed up real bad in what they were doing and not following the rules set in place by legal precedent. That's unfortunately how our legal system works, is through precedent, especially in Japan when you're dealing with Japanese companies. I did see, I think it was actually Bob Wolf. I think it was on that podcast you sent me, Matt, where they were talking about, the other thing about Yuzu settling is it means that there's not a lawsuit to set more precedent.
Yeah, that's pretty helpful in going forward for emulation, because if there's not a court case that lawyers can then reference back to make their case more, I guess, believable or concrete, then it makes it harder for companies like Nintendo to crack down on emulation because this was settled out of court.
Right. And to put it in perspective, we're still using the documents that we use today for the precedent of legal emulation is from the 90s. In fact, I think we have a Games Parlay episode where we went all about it.
We do.
Where we talked about Bleem. The Cliff Notes version is Bleem was a PS2 or PlayStation 1 emulator. I think it was PlayStation 1 emulator.
I think it was 1.
Yeah, this was the 90s. There was a PlayStation 1 emulator, and Bleem won the case for emulation. Now, the famous story goes that they couldn't afford the legal fees, so they still went out of business. But they did win the case, which set the precedent that emulation itself was legal. And stuff and so we're still seeing that today, even with Dolphin getting not allowed to be on Steam. They were still referencing that court case, and Nintendo has put stuff in place because of that court case to still have a legal foothold to shut stuff down. So it's a fascinating world out there of copyright protection and emulation. But it's an important one to follow if you are one who likes emulation, who likes to continue to use emulation. Because it's only going to, as more... Nintendo, in particular, has quite a foothold and quite an aggression towards emulation. Sony's not far behind in terms of that. They're less vocal about it. than Nintendo has been. And I don't know that Xbox. I don't know what Xbox is doing.
Nope, no one does.
But I don't see very many Xbox emulators, so maybe I'm just not looking in the right spots.
Well, I think there's a reason for that. It's because Xbox has made it much easier to get a hold of their older games through Game Pass and through the cloud gaming.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
And I think that just goes to show that, like, if companies just let people play the games in a more legal manner, we wouldn't have to worry about this. Yeah. If they had the 3DS on on NSO for me to play, I'd buy games and do it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
Like,
yeah. Something else that we didn't talking about this before, but it's just kind of an interesting side story. So I am in a Discord for SMT Imagine. It's an old Shin Megami Tensei MMO that was around for a little while, and then it got shut down here, and it continued to kind of be a thing in Japan for a while, and then it got shut down. So I am in a server, SMT New Moon, and they recently got into some legal trouble because somebody in the Discord ripped character models and stuff from Persona 3 Reload and Persona 5 Royal, and we're basically sharing these files around in the Discord, and I think it was one of the developers were putting those files in the game. I don't remember if that part happened or not, but basically the owner of the server and the Discord got fined $20,000 from Atlas, which you talk about Yuzu having to pay $2.4 million.
Right.
But it's just this one dude is getting fined $20,000 from Atlas because they got caught. I mean, people were planting stuff in the Discord to then report them, is what it sounds like. It's terrible for a fan server that they are not making any money on. So it's important to know where the boundaries are and to understand some of the legal precedent when it comes to these things.
Right. Don't ruin it for the rest of us.
Don't ruin it for the rest of us. Be smart with what you're doing. And don't blatantly steal and post it online. Just be smarter about it. Don't lock your ROMs behind a Patreon.
Yeah.
I mean, that too. Also, I think, weren't they also using Yuzu to data mine DLC?
I don't know about that. That's possible, but I don't recall hearing that.
Because a lot of that's in the game files. I think they were using it to say, like, oh, this DLC is going to come out because we can see this text string, blah, 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 blah. Kind of a mess. So anyway,
that sounds very, very legal and safe and fun.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you, Yuzu.
So that's Yuzu and Citra. Just keep an eye on what's going on in emulation land. It's starting to favor. It's going to start to work in favor of companies very soon if we're not being careful with our emulation habits. Okay, next up on our list.
Speaking of annoying big bad companies,
Rooster Teeth. Rather, Warner Brothers.
Again.
Yep.
It's always Warner Brothers.
Yeah. So Rooster Teeth has been permanently closed. Now, I will be honest, I do not know a whole lot of kind of what's going on here, other than I have just seen that Warner Brothers has closed Rooster Teeth.
Right. There's a lot I don't know for sure about this. I don't know when Warner Brothers acquired Rooster Teeth. Either way, it sucks that Warner Brothers feels like this very important, like, foundational online group is not worth keeping around, because Rooster Teeth kind of set the standard for a lot of the stuff that I consume, like the people over at Kind of Funny, Good Vibes Gaming. All of them kind of go off of the model that Rooster Teeth kind of set.
Yeah.
And it's really sad that this group of people who were kind of controversial and like were not always like the greatest.
Yeah.
It still sucks that it's gone, you know?
Yeah. And Sterling mentions too, like the type of format that we use for up download is exactly what we're doing. It's
true.
Teeth, you know.
It's true.
Yeah, it sucks. And didn't Ruby recently? I thought I saw someone. Maybe it was a different Discord I was in. Someone was talking about Ruby, starting to kind of pick up again. But
I do not know. I don't follow Ruby closely. I just know
either,
of it.
But yeah, it's like just a cornerstone of stuff just getting dropped. Also, is it Warner Brothers? Was it Warner Brothers that's deleting like a whole movie?
Yes, it's the
Coyote
like
versus
a lot...
Acme thing.
Yes, exactly. They are deleting a whole movie that is done, like done, and they are not releasing it in favor of a tax break.
Annoying, frustrating,
extremely
vile. Yeah. So yeah, that sucks. And Batgirl.
And Batgirl, the same exact thing happened with Batgirl. Yep, it was pretty much done. It wasn't as done as the Wile E. Coyote movie, but it was the same thing where it was like just about done, and instead of releasing it, they wrote it off as like a loss on their taxes, and so then they get money back from it.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, that does make me wonder if this Rooster Teeth Fallout is a similar kind of ploy. I don't know enough about it to know one way or the other.
Well, they obviously need money, so they're selling off things they don't think are important in order to have money. Now, granted, I don't know what they're using the money for if they're not releasing movies.
Right. Yeah. They're just making movies, just not releasing them.
They're just making movies, and then instead of releasing them, they are saying, actually, we're going to write this off as a tax cut, a tax break.
That's a very...
Love it.
Yeah. Yeah. Exec salaries, probably.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Stock buybacks, all that good stuff.
Yeah. Very frustrating. Again, I'm not a huge Rooster Teeth guy. I know plenty of people that are. And I know Rooster Teeth is like a pillar for people of, like, you know, their content. Like, that was where they got their content, primarily. It sucks to lose any group of people like that, just because of... And also, I am sick and tired of people finding out via Twitter that they are losing their jobs.
Yes, that is crazy.
Like, I saw so many tweets from people that are like, yep, this is how I found out that I don't have a job anymore. Like, what is up with that? Why is that a thing that's even allowed?
I don't get it. I don't get that at all.
Because I know
it doesn't like cost anything to alert them. You know?
I don't know. It's like I don't know. It sucks. It's horrible. It's so sad to be watching, and you know, this has been with all of the layoffs we have seen, you know, since the start of the year, of people finding out via Twitter that there are layoffs in their own building. I saw something from Pirate Software. They had when Blizzard did layoffs at one point, people were showing up to the door with their key cards to find out if they were let go or not.
Yep, I saw that too.
Just horrible. It's horrible. I don't know why we can't have basic human decency and alert people when their jobs are about to go away.
Yep.
Saw something similar when all the Blizzard esports stuff was getting shut down.
Oh yeah.
People were finding out via Twitter, or like they found out there were going to be layoffs that day, and then from Twitter, and then they got to work to find out whether or not they were staying or not. It's horrible. So very frustrating. I hope everyone that was involved with Rooster Teeth and Funhouse and all of those groups can get back on their feet and find work, but I'm tired of seeing it.
Absolutely.
It's frustrating to all hell that they can't keep people around. Layoffs happen. Layoffs are a part of business, but man, it's still not good. So it's
Agreed.
Very frustrating. I had something else on that and I lost it immediately. Oh, Warner Brothers is teasing a return to multiverses. Have you seen this?
Yeah.
So they're doing all this and they're trying to bring back a free-to-play fighter.
They also what was it? I forget exactly like the context of this announcement, but I think it may have been just like a board meeting or something like that, where they were discussing plans for like their future video game releases. and they directly said that big free-to-play multiplayer games like Multiverses and Suicide Squad are like the future of what they want to put out. But then if you look at, as annoying as the creator of this franchise is, the Hogwarts Legacy game.
Yeah.
That was the best-selling game of last year.
Yeah.
And Warner Brothers put that out. And instead they're going to follow along the train of the Suicide Squad game that no one likes or plays.
Yep.
Make it make sense. That doesn't make any sense.
I don't know. They just people who don't understand. You would think that the data would show for itself.
Yes.
Like even like
especially in this case.
Yeah, even from like dumb execs who know nothing about video games, looking at a piece of paper that says we made a lot of money from Hogwarts Legacy and made negative money on Suicide Squad.
So let's do more Suicide Squad style games.
I don't know. I don't know if they just think they will get another Fortnite. That's the only thing.
All anyone wants, yeah.
But you're not.
You're not. No.
You're just not. If you're gonna lose a job, warn a brother. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Thank you, Sterling. And yeah, Elena, but this time it'll work. Yeah, definitely. Because Multiverses made such a splash the first time it came out.
I mean, we played it.
Listen, I liked Multiverses. I really did. I enjoyed the heck out of it. I'm excited to play it again when it does launch. But if their servers are just as bad as they were a year ago, I have no faith that it's gonna stay.
That was rough.
It was really good in closed beta, and then open beta came around, and it was a mess. So, unless they've really put in the time to strengthen up their network, which I'm not guessing was the focus of their plan, because it's Warner Brothers. Yeah, I spent like $10 on it and didn't know it was going to close. Right.
Yep.
Yeah, well, they weren't originally going to close. It was just going to be closed beta, open beta, release. And then they were like, oh crap, we need to overhaul this thing. Which I don't agree with. They just needed to fix their servers, which I'm not a programmer, so maybe that did take a year of closing down. But I don't know. Warner Brothers is just not making a lot of sense in general.
It's true.
So the best I can hope for is that Multiverses comes back and it's playable and I can enjoy it again. Because I really did like it. But
it was fun.
I don't know. We'll have to see. It's very sad and frustrating. All right. And most games would have stayed open while prepping the next release. Yeah.
That was my thought too.
That's fair. Next up, we just wanted to briefly touch Persona 3 DLC confirmed. There was an Xbox partner showcase thing, and they announced Persona 3
Wednesday.
On Wednesday. I was busy doing a music festival, so I didn't get to watch it. But all I heard about was Persona 3 DLC.
Yeah, I don't remember anything else from the showcase. That's all I remember.
Yeah. Which is great. Yes, also, Yuna is here to join in the conversation occasionally.
Yep.
I still have not finished Persona 3 Reload. I have not played it since it released because I've been busy with a bunch of stuff. I've been mostly playing.
I plan to get to it.
Around.
Me too.
Yeah. But I mean, I like the game so far. I like that they are bringing back the answer. It's basically for those that have played Persona 4 or Persona 5, it's basically the Royal storyline, where you just get although I would say that the Persona 3 one is a little bit more, it's a lot more integral to the main story, whereas Royal... So
the epilogue, right?
Yeah. Whereas Royal was here's a side story that's spun off of the original story. This is more it's an epilogue to how the original game ends. And it's very contentious. I think it's interesting they're doing this at all. Because the answer had a lot of stuff that just wasn't balanced right mechanically, and some of the story stuff people really didn't appreciate. It felt like it mischaracterized some characters, some stuff. It's hard to go into without spoiling
stuff,
the main crux of the game.
Well, I'd appreciate that.
Yeah.
As someone who wants to play this.
Yeah. So I'm not gonna, but it's really important to the end of the game. And
Well, it makes me wonder then what they've done to maybe address some of that, because it's been a long time since the original game came out. They may have had time to kind of rework some stuff.
I think the shift mechanic alone. So basically, I could talk about some of this. So I haven't actually played the answer myself. I have watched quite a few video analyses and seen like what's going on with it. So this is like an understanding of someone else's understanding, but while watching the context of things kind of play out. So take it for what it's worth. But a lot, in a lot of Persona games, the enemy layouts are set up in a way where you can very easily, even without something like Shift or Baton Pass, can very easily get an all-out attack. Right? Like the enemy layouts are set up in a way that if you have the weaknesses, you can score an all-out attack.
Right.
Apparently, the original version of the answer had a lot of bosses that were just immune to, or not, that were just like resistant to everything, and had like a couple reflections, and so you couldn't get all-out attacks on bosses. And then there were a bunch of enemy layouts where like one enemy might be weak to an element, but another one will reflect it. So in the net, you actually just lose your turn. And so there's some very frustrating enemy layouts. And then again, in Persona 3 Fest, you had no direct party member control. You only controlled the player character, and you set tactics for everybody else.
Right.
So I think with the combination of direct party member control plus the shift mechanic, I think it's going to be you're going to have to be a lot more. I think you're going to be okay with shift to kind of get around some of those things. So they're saying there were bosses in normal P3 that didn't have any weaknesses, so you had to rely on crits. Yeah, but I think a lot of them had resistances. I don't think it was just neutral. I think it was straight up resistances and reflex and stuff. And like annoying attack patterns and stuff. I didn't play the answer. I also don't think, and again, the lack of direct party member control was rough.
Yes, that'd be very annoying.
Like, and party members either don't buff at all or they only buff. There's no in between in some of those from what I've seen. So I don't think it's going to be that bad mechanically. I think the more contentious part for the answer is the story. There's a large majority of people that I think feel that the answer goes against the premise of the original plot. So I don't know. Again, that's the interpretation of an interpretation.
Right.
So I'm excited to play it myself. I have thought about procuring a copy of Persona 3 Fest just to play the answer myself. But I'm also like, I don't want to deal with not having party member control.
Right, now you can just wait a little bit.
Now I can just wait and play it myself. And I will say
Do we have a release date for that yet?
I think they said September.
Okay, and then is it Metaphor or ReFantazio like right after that?
Yes.
Gosh.
Yeah. So, I don't know, I'm excited for it. I think having the answer is very, very cool. And they've recharacterized a lot of characters in the original game in Persona 3 Reload. Like one of the characters that I've seen a lot of love for, her name is Yuko. She's like the team manager character. I thought she was drier than dry in Persona 3 Portable. It was just kind of a bare bones story, not a lot of likability with her. And I have seen people like going crazy for her online. With Persona 3 Reload. I think a lot of characters have gotten some kind of overhauls of their character quirks and stuff. So I'm really excited to see if they fix...
Right, that seems like a good sign.
Yeah, I really think they could fix some of the issues people had with the answer originally. And you have to remember it was their first crack at it, really.
Right.
With that kind of epilogue system. So, because they really didn't have that. They didn't have that in Persona 1 and 2. So... I'm interested. I think it'll be very, very cool. I'm excited to get back into Persona 3 Reload because I was super excited for it and then immediately had like 6 things to do all the time.
Day jobs are not fun sometimes.
Yeah, I wish I could just stay home and play video games all day regularly. But yeah, I think it's cool. I think it's also cool. We're getting the pre-order. There was like some pre-order DLC with like game music stuff, and it seems like they're back through this like expansion pass type thing, which not my favorite, but I like that they're not gatekeeping it to pre-orders. Be unemployed like me, V easy. Okay, you've convinced me.
Be much less Taco Bell for you if you were unemployed.
Hey, I mean, you're right. I didn't ask for the judgment. Yeah. But yeah, that's coming up. And also, I just want to briefly mention Atlas. I don't know why they're releasing everything this year, but they sure are, aren't they? Mm-hmm. Honestly, Sega as a whole kind of is. With Persona 3 Reload, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, which I still haven't picked up, Metaphor ReFantazio, the Persona 3 DLC. They just released Persona 5 Tactica in like November of last year. Unicorn Overlord seems to be doing really well. People seem stoked for that. I'm playing
Pokemon Omega Ruby on my 3DS right now.
Look, I just played
Instead of all that.
I just beat Dragon Quest VI, a DS, technically an SNES game that I played on my DS. So, I'm right there with you.
Yep.
But I think that kind of covers the weekly news. It's been a wild week.
Kind of sad week, yeah.
A very sad week, yes. But a crazy one nonetheless. So, I think that's gonna do it for us. Do you have anything else you want to say, Matt?
Well, thanks for joining us for this episode of Games Parlay.
Yeah.
How's it going?
Yes, welcome to Games Parlay. As always, we have all kinds of videos up on our YouTube channel, up, download. With I believe we have all of our old weekly recaps up there still. So if you want to go back and see some of the other weeks, some of our other guests, you can go and see them. And I think our VOD of video game music trivia from about a month ago should still be up. If you have not watched that,
yep.
It isn't?
It is.
Okay.
It is there.
Great. You should go watch that because it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun hosting that, and I think we have some more events coming up here pretty soon. So hopefully we can get you guys some more stuff on that. Also, go check out our website, wordpress.up-download. Let me go pull it up right now.
Sounds right.
I don't remember off the top of my head. But I have an article talking about Persona 3. I'm working on another article. Here, I'm just gonna copy and paste Sterling's article, where he talked about video game documentaries. So make sure you go check those out. The port notes. There you go. There's the link to Sterling's article. You can go watch that, read it there, and hopefully we'll have some more getting written up for you.
Woo.
I think that's gonna be it for us. So thank you guys for tuning in, and we will catch you all next time.